Well, after an early season record-breaking snowstorm impacted portions of Maine late last weekend, knocking out power in the area, widespread power outages, there are still several thousand without power. And as we look ahead, we could be talking about another system to sweep through late Thursday and into Friday, although not as strong. It could certainly add insult to injury in terms of efforts being made to restore power. I'm joined now by Tom Welch, chairman of the Maine Public Utilities Commission. Tom, thank you so much for being with us. I want to add a little insight and want your insight kind of as we look ahead. First, tell me, the first question I had was Maine certainly accustomed to gale force winds, snowstorms such as this one. We were talking earlier about the content of the snow and kind of the foliage on the trees. Kind of tell me what was different about this particular system versus the ones you see later in the season.
Well, later in the season, the snow tends to be drier and there's no foliage on the trees, so that when you get accumulations of snow, they typically don't sit on the branches that sit right above the utility wires. So clearly a storm early in the season when there's still foliage on the trees, and particularly a storm that has some ice components in it, plus wind, can be extremely damaging to the system.
Absolutely. And you were telling me earlier, do we think there's still as more as 30,000 without power, and a lot of that is attributed to kind of the rural areas, correct?
Yes, that's right. There are about a little under 30,000 people who still do not have power in the state.
Okay, and you were telling me too, and I didn't know this before talking to you, you can't really overwhelm the system. There's a process that goes into restoring power, and you kind of have to stagger it in terms of kind of not overwhelming things. Is that what you were saying to me earlier?
Yes, that's true. Unfortunately, it's not possible to turn on everybody simultaneously. You really have to bring on the system from the inside out, and therefore it tends to take a fair amount of time in a storm this big with this widespread effect to reach all the people who live farther and farther from the towns.
Okay, and tell me just a little bit about if you have any insight on when you think the estimated time they are going to be done completing, kind of restoring the power fully across Maine. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, the current estimates given by the utilities that we don't have any reason to doubt are that most customers will be back on by the end of the day on Thursday. Hopefully many will be on before then, but that's the target. I expect there will be some people who don't have power for a couple days beyond that, simply because they're in the more remote regions of the state. So obviously an additional storm coming through Thursday would not be helpful at all.
Not at all. It's certainly understandable, the process that it takes. And Tom, thank you so much for being with us. So we certainly appreciate it. I want to take you just to a couple maps just to show you what we're looking ahead towards. It's all going to depend on the track of this low pressure system coming out of the Great Lakes on Thursday afternoon, the redevelopment, which the snow showers will be prevalent in the area. We're thinking the rain showers will change over to snow, of course, dropping some snow across the area. We're going to keep you posted right here on WeatherNation.